How the universe tests you before changing your reality. Awaken your inner self. Have you ever felt like your life was stuck, even after doing all the right things? You've let go of the past. Faced your fears, yet everything feels still. This video invites you into the sacred space of the void, that quiet, uncertain in-between where your deepest transformation unfolds. Here, change doesn't shout, it whispers. We'll explore why stillness isn't absence, but preparation. Drawing on Jungian insights and psychological depth. We'll uncover how your internal world reshapes your external reality, through presence, not performance. If you've been searching for clarity, this may be the mirror you didn't know you needed. Stay until the end, because sometimes, the most silent moments carry the loudest truths. When pain is no longer the enemy. Most people interpret pain as a punishment, a signal that something has gone terribly wrong. But what if pain is not there to break you, but to reveal you? What if it is not a curse, but a compass? There is a moment in every transformation when the suffering feels personal, cruel, and unfair. You might say to yourself, "Why me? Why now?" But beneath that resistance is a deeper truth waiting to be uncovered. Pain is often not the enemy. It is the messenger. A mirror showing you where something inside has been ignored, buried, or denied. In modern society, we are taught to avoid pain, to numb it, to silence it as quickly as possible. But psychology, especially the work of Carl Jung, shows us something radical. Pain is not the opposite of healing. It is often the beginning. It forces you to stop, to pay attention. To reconsider the version of yourself you have been performing. It challenges your identity and confronts your illusions. And while it may feel like life is collapsing, what is actually crumbling is what you no longer need. The real you is not breaking down. It is breaking through. And this is where many people give up. Not because they are weak, but because they do not realize that pain is not a detour. It is the path itself. When you stop seeing pain as your enemy, you begin to walk differently. You start to listen. And through that listening, something deeper awakens. You do not escape your pain. You transform through it. The stillness before transformation, the universe's wordless gateway. There comes a moment after you have wished for change when everything seems to stop. You set your intentions, you visualized you our future, and then suddenly everything freezes. No progress. No signs. Just silence. This stillness is not an error in the system. It is not a delay in delivery. It is an essential phase. The calm before the creation. Most people mistake it for abandonment. They assume that because nothing is happening externally, nothing is happening at all. But the truth is, this is the moment the universe is working most deeply inside you. Stillness is not absence. It is the space where your nervous system begins to recalibrate. It is where your identity begins to detach from the old and prepare for the new. It is deeply uncomfortable. Why? Because the ego needs constant proof to feel safe. And this silence gives you nothing to hold on to. That is why it feels like floating in the dark. But the darkness is not empty. It is sacred. It is the chrysalis. The in-between space where you are no longer who you were and not yet who you are becoming. This is where trust is born. Not in the noise of results in the quiet of alignment. The universe does not rush transformation. It honors process. And the stillness is not a punishment. It is an invitation. To breathe. To soften. To let go of urgency. And to remember that the most powerful changes begin not with motion but with presence. Your silence is not meaningless. It is preparation in disguise. The collapse of the mask, meeting the true self. There is a breaking point in every journey where the identity you built to survive begins to fall apart. The part of you that learned how to please, how to perform, how to hide. It starts to feel heavy. Unnatural. This is not a breakdown. It is a breakthrough. The self you presented to the world was never fake. It was formed in response to what you believed you needed to be. But there comes a moment when the cost of maintaining that image becomes too high. You begin to feel the friction. The split between how you show up and how you truly feel. And slowly the mask begins to slip. Carl Jung described this process as the collapse of the persona. The outer shell of identity starts to dissolve so that the deeper self can finally emerge. And it's terrifying. Because you are not just losing roles or labels. You are losing who you thought you were. The mind resists. The ego panics. But underneath all of that is someone you have always been. Untamed. Whole. This part of you does not chase approval. It does not perform for love. It simply is. And when this true self begins to surface, you stop living for validation. You start living in alignment. This is not the end of your identity. It is the beginning of your authenticity. And while it may come with grief, confusion, and fear, it also comes with power. Because nothing is more powerful than the moment you meet yourself not as who you were told to be but as who you really are. The universe begins to ask, are you ready to live authentically? After the mask begins to fall, something subtle yet powerful starts to happen. Life no longer responds to who you pretend to be. It begins to respond to who you are. And this is where the universe becomes deeply observant. It watches not your words but your choices. Not your promises but your patterns. This is not a test of worthiness. It is a reflection of readiness. You are not being asked if you deserve a new reality. You are being asked if you are truly prepared to live in it. And the difference is everything. The universe is not looking for tie-in. It is looking for coherence. Are your actions aligned with your truth? Are your reactions still guided by fear, or have they been reshaped by self-awareness? This is the silent evaluation. When no thing seems to change on the outside, the real question becomes how much has shifted within. The universe reveals your misalignments not to punish but to help you recalibrate. It sends mirrors, not obstacles. The conflict you feel is not the world rejecting you. It is life trying to show you where you are still rejecting yourself. And this is where deep honesty is required. Can you meet yourself you are without judgment? Can you stop performing even when no one is watching? These are not spiritual ideals. They are emotional milestones. The moment you begin to live from truth even when it costs you comfort or certainty, that is when the universe takes notice. Because at that point you are no longer chasing change. You are embodying it. Change your reaction, change your entire life. Most people wait for external conditions to shift before they allow themselves to feel different. They wait for clarity before committing, peace before resting, and love before softening. But real transformation does not begin when circumstances change. It begins when your relationship to those circumstances changes. You do not have control over every situation, but you do have power over how you respond. And that response is where the old self either dissolves or reinforces itself. Every moment becomes a choice point. Will you repeat the pattern or respond from presence? Will you act from fear or from alignment? This is not about suppressing emotions or pretending to be unaffected. It is about awareness. When you notice your trigger without feed-in, you interrupt the loop. And in that small interruption you create a new path. Over time these micro-choices build a new way of being. You are not becoming someone else. You are becoming more your self. Carl Jung wrote that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Your reactions are a window into your unconscious. They reveal your beliefs, your wounds, your assumptions. And when you stop reacting blindly, you begin to heal consciously. This is emotional maturity. It is not the absence of pain but the ability to sit with pain without letting it define you. The day you stop letting your reactions own you is the day your freedom begins. Walking through fire, not to burn, but to purify. There comes a moment when the pain deepens, not because you are doing something wrong but because you are doing something right. You have begun to shift. You are letting go of false identities, outdated patterns and unconscious habits. And the old self senses its time is running out. That is when it fights the hardest. Fear gets louder. Doubt creeps in. The mind clings to familiar sto. Rise. This is not a sign of failure. It is a sign of movement. You are walking through fire. But this fire is not here to destroy you. It is here to purify you. It burns away what cannot follow you in to the next chapter. It exposes what you are still holding onto out of fear, comfort or habit. And it demands something rare. It demands your courage. Not the loud kind but the quiet kind. The kind that stays. That breathes. That holds the line when everything in you wants to run. Carl Jung said, what you resist persists. This fire cannot be avoided. It must be faced. Because what you avoid in pain, you prolong in suffering. But when you move through it with presence, the pain transforms. It becomes your teacher. It reveals your strength. And it makes space for something new. You do not pass this test by pretending to be unshaken. You pass it by showing up exactly as you are, even if that means trembling through the flames. This is not about being ready. It is about being willing. And willing. SS is the bridge between who you were and who you are becoming. The void, not an ending, but a creative field. There is a stage in transformation where nothing seems to move. You have done the work. You have faced the pain. You have let go of the past. And yet there is still no sign of rival. No confirmation. No visible reward. Just emptiness. This is the void. It feels like a pause, but it is a process. It feels like nothing, but it holds everything. In the void you are no longer who you were, but not yet who you will be. It is a space between identities, and it tests your relationship with uncertainty. Most people give up here. They believe nothing is happening. But the truth is is the most fertile ground of all. The void is not dead space. It is sacred space. It is where your roots grow deeper. Where your energy recalibrates. Where your new self begins to form beneath the surface. This stage asks you to trust what you cannot yet see. To remain present when there is no proof. To stay connected when there is no outcome. Carl Jung wrote that the greatest breakthroughs oft and come after the deepest silence. In the void you learn to stop chasing and start allowing. You shift from doing to being. From striving to receiving. From seeking to becoming. This is not an tie-in in your journey. It is the heart of it. And if you can stay here without needing certainty, you will find a power more stable than any external success. Because the void is not a punishment. It is a preparation for a life you are finally ready to live. Become the frequency you desire. Manifestation is not about demanding something from the universe. It is about aligning yourself with what you say you are ready for. Most people ask for a new real why while still living as if they are unworthy of it. They think different thoughts but behave in the same ways. They wish for love but still close their hearts. They dream of peace but still carry S in their energy. The universe does not respond to what you ask for. It responds to what you embody. Your frequency is not shaped by what you say you want. It is shaped by how you live when no one is watching. Every choice you make in silence sends a message. Every boundary you honor, every truth you speak, every reaction you soften becomes part of your signal. This is how you become the frequency. It is not about forcing change. It is about becoming so aligned with the life you seek that it has no choice but to meet you. Carl Jung believed that what you resist in the unconscious becomes your reality. But what you integrate becomes your power. Embodiment is integration in motion. It means living now as if what you desire is already within you. Not pretending but practicing. Not waiting but howing up. This is not performance. It is presence. And it is the most magnetic force you have. When you stop chasing and start being, you collapse the gap between where you are and where you want to be. You become the signal. And the universe knows exactly how to answer. The blooming of the inner self, when you live authentically without needing to prove it. True transformation is not loud. It does not announce itself with fireworks. It arrives quietly like a seed, breaking open underground. At first nothing looks different. But something inside you has shifted. You are no longer trying to earn your worth. You are no longer performing for approval. You are living from a place of inner truth. This is when the inner self begins to bloom. And the world around you starts to respond. Not because you demanded it, but because you aligned with it. Most people believe they need to prove their readiness. They think they need results to confirm growth. But the soul works differently. It does not grow by proof. It grows by presence. When you live authentically, you stop needing validation. You start moving from clarity even when no one agrees. You speak from your center even when your voice shakes. You love without attachment and set boundaries without guilt. S is not detachment. It is devotion to your truth. Carl Jung taught that the goal of life is not to be good but to be whole. And wholeness begins when you no longer abandon yourself to fit into someone else's idea of you. You no longer shrink for safety or inflate for approval. You just are. And that quiet confidence changes everything. The moment you no longer need to prove who you are is the moment. And the world begins to reflect who you have become. Not through applause but through alignment. Not through recognition but through resonance. Because your life is no longer a performance. It is a presence. No longer waiting for miracles, because you are the miracle. There comes a moment when you stop waiting for something outside of you to save you. You stop searching for signs to prove you are on the right path. You stop begging life to deliver what you already carry within. This is the moment you realize the miracle you were waiting for is not a future event. It is who you have become. Most people think transformation arrives with big changes. But true change reveals itself in small choices. The decision to stay grounded when fear rises. The choice to speak truth when silence feels safer. The act of loving yourself when no one else does. These are not dramatic moments. They are sacred ones. They show that you have stopped outsourcing your power. That you no longer wait for permission to be whole. Carl Jung believed that wholeness is not something we find. It is something we remember. And when you remember your own wholeness, you stop chasing completion outside of yourself. You begin to live with quiet confidence. Not needing to be seen to feel real. Not needing approval to feel worthy. This is when life changes. Not because it suddenly gives you what you want but because you finally recognize what you already have. You are no longer waiting to be chosen. You have chosen yourself. And that choice sends a message so clear, so steady, so grounded that the universe cannot help but respond. Because the miracle is not coming. The miracle is already here. It is you. Facing the shadow, the key to deep self-understanding. There is a part of you that you hide not because it is evil but because it is painful. The anger you never voiced. The shame you never named. The fear you never faced. This is the shadow. It is not your enemy. It is the part of you that holds everything you were taught to reject. And yet it is also the gateway to your deepest power. Carl Jung taught that the shadow is not to be eliminated but integrated. When you deny it, it grows stronger. When you face it, it begins to soften. Most people run from their shadow because they believe it makes them unworthy. But the truth is the opposite. It is only through facing the shadow that you begin to understand yourself fully. Your triggers, your emotional reactions, your destructive patterns are not flaws. They are messages. They point to wounds still asking for attention. And when you stop judging them, you begin to heal. This is not about blaming the past. It is about reclaiming your wholeness. You cannot become fully conscious without meeting the parts of you that live in the dark. And when you do, you gain a kind of compassion that is not available through intellect alone. You understand the others not because you excuse their behavior but because you recognize their pain. The shadow teaches humility. It strips away pride and reveals humanity. It reminds you that you are not here to be perfect. You are here to be whole. And wholeness begins when you stop hiding from yourself. Do not judge others' pain, they are fighting battles you cannot see. Every person you meet carries an invisible story. The quiet child hiding anxiety. The angry stranger masking grief. The perfecti. Honest struggling with shame. These stories live beneath the surface and often go unseen. It is easy to judge what we do not understand. Easy to label behavior without considering the pain beneath it. But psychology teaches us that behavior is never random. It is always rooted in something deeper. People are not broken. They are protecting. Surviving. Reacting from wounds they have not yet healed. When you begin to see others through this lens, you stop taking things personally. You stop needing to defend yourself against every trigger. Instead, you begin to listen. To understand. To see pain not as a threat but as a signal. Carl Jung believed that what we see in others is often a reflection of what remains unhealed within ourselves. So the judgment you place on others may be a mirror. A chank. To look inward. This is not about tolerating harm. It is about seeing humanity. When you stop expecting perfection, you create space for connection. Compassion does not mean accepting everything. It means recognizing the complexity of being human. That we all carry scars. That we all act out of pain sometimes. And that understanding someone does not mean agreeing with them. It means honoring they our story even when you do not know it. Because beneath every behavior is a need. And beneath every need is a person simply trying to be okay. You don't need validation, only to see yourself clearly. There is a quiet power in no longer needing validation. In waking up each day not to prove your worth but to live it. Most people spend years chasing approval, trying to earn a sense of being enough. But no amount of praise can substitute for self-recognition. True peace begins when you stop waiting for someone else to see you and start seeing yourself. This is not arrogance. It is clarity. When you see yourself clearly, you stop over-explaining. You stop apologizing for your existence. You stop shrinking to fit into places that were never meant for you. Carl Jung believed that the journey of individuation is about becoming who you truly are, not who the world expects you to be. And that process requires solitude, reflection, and honest. Why? It is not always easy. The world rewards performance. But your soul responds to truth. And when you choose truth even when no one notices, you begin to build something unshakable. A sense of self-rooted in presence, not perception. In inner knowing, not outer praise. This is what it means to come home to yourself. To stand in your own energy without grasping. To speak from your heart without fear. To live aligned not for applause but for integrity. The goal is not to be seen by everyone. The goal is to see yourself so clearly that even in silence you feel whole. Because the life you are building does not need to be loud to be real. It just needs to be yours. True transformation is never about becoming someone else. It is about returning to who you have always been, beneath the noise, beneath the masks, beneath the fear. The journey is not linear, not fast and easy. But it is real. And in that realness you find your strength, your clarity, and your peace. You do not need to rush. You do not need to prove. Just keep showing up. Quietly. Honestly. Fully. The universe is already listening.